This is Joe Domingo, and you're listening to Love Notes here on Magic 89.9.
Hindi pala Joe Domingo ang pangalan ni Sir Joe.
O yan pangalan mo, Joe Domingo. Tapos bakit naman ganun yung pangalan ko? Nakakatawa naman. Little did I know that that would be a household name.
Iconic for our generation,
Yes.
Joe Domingo.
Yes.
Your radio program transcended in all media platforms.
Yes.
Through that program, Love Notes, nagkaroon ng realization about forgiveness.
Yes.
How? Iconic kayo sa amin kasi you are the voice we grew up listening to.
Thank you.
You made history because your radio program transcended in all media platforms.
Yes.
Ano po yung nauna? TV show or movie? Or book? Or comics?
Nagkaroon muna ng radio program, tapos nagkaroon ng 2 CD from BMG Records, tapos
Nag-CD pa!
nag-CD pa.
Aba, nag-album pa talaga.
Tapos si Miss Belia Tan, when she was still alive, she
Yes.
made a series of Love Notes pocket novels. And then Sterling Publication came out with the comics. And then ABC5, the late Mario J. De Los Reyes picked it up and made a series. It was the longest running soap of ABC5
Yes.
during that time, 1994, early 1995.
Yes, yan ang first yung parang love story.
Yes, and then Viva picked it up. Kimpi De Leon, Donna Cruz, Vina Morales, Gary Estrada, Love Notes the movie.
The movie.
And then pinick up ng PLDT yan, 1-800 number. Pwede ka tumawag to ask for advice. I'm there also, but they have a pool of psychologists who would talk to people who have problems. So parang
grabe.
ito ang tawag ng pag-ibig campaign naman yun.
Nanganak na ng nanganak
Nanganak
yung...
ng nanganak, yes.
Yung Love Notes that
Yes.
started in the radio.
Yes.
Ang galing how God multiplied everything.
Yes.
Wala nang sumunod na ganun.
Alam ko maraming sumunod, pero I don't know if they
They reached that level of
same status.
success na
Yes.
ginawa nyo.
Yes.
Tapos I was reading about your story, nakakagulat kasi ang alam natin is Sir Joe Domingo. He's our love guru, Love Notes, but he is now a pastor.
Yes. Calling ni Lord yun, and that's something that I'm proud to tell everyone.
Grabe.
From back in the day na you're serving yourself, now I'm serving the Lord. And there's nothing more rewarding than that.
And you're also now based in Australia.
Yes, we're based there since 2013. Alam mo lahat ng nangyari sa buhay ko, you see God's hand in those things.
Yeah.
Even when I wasn't a Christian yet, you know that God is orchestrating your life to bring you to where He wants you to be.
So before kayo maging Joe Domingo, let us go back to your childhood
Yes. In Manila.
Manila na. And then, bata pa lang kayo, meron na kayong passion towards dun sa radio, yung gumagawa kayong transmitter. Yung parang-
Mahilig kasi ako sa electronics. So when I was in high school, uso nun yung wireless mic. I don't know if you remember that. You tune into a blank frequency sa FM and you speak on the mic. So I tweaked that and made a small radio station out of that wireless mic. I went to the roof, naglagay ako ng antenna, and I went around our subdivision. Tinutune ko yung radyo nila sa 88.1. Yun yung blank frequency. And then tatakbo ako sa bahay, and then I would record songs from a cassette, and then I'll play back the songs, and i-greet ko sila, "Hi, this is..." playing radio DJ. So that's how it started. It was something that I was really passionate about.
Bakit pag di-DJ ang nakahiligan nyo nung time na yon? Sino pinapakinggan nyo sa radyo nun?
I love to listen to FM stations noon, 94.7 Mellow Touch and 97.1 WLS FM.
Grabe, ang tagal na pala ng 94.7.
Oo, matagal na yan.
LS.
And so I was listening to the Trigger Man. He has a show from 9 to 12 midnight.
Trigger Man.
Yes, the Trigger Man on WLS 97.1. So, mahilig ako makinig ng radyo.
Tapos, nung nakikinig kayo, naisip nyo, ito ang gusto kong gawin.
Hindi pa. It was just like something that, I grew up with a very challenging childhood. And somehow, radio gave me a different world. Na it gave me a sense of parang connection in a way to music. Kasi minsan, when you listen to music, it allows you to express words that hindi mo masabi in life. And music speaks it out for you. I had this certain love affair with music. So that's how it started.
When you say the childhood was challenging, in what way?
Well, I grew up without a strong father figure. We're second family kami, so hindi ako lumaki ng may concept of what a father is. So that's very difficult for me. Kasi alam mo, as a child, you get your affirmation from your parents. And pag wala kang strong father figure, you end up confused with your identity and struggling with self-worth. And it's difficult because I didn't get that kind of affirmation. But my mom, of course, played the role of Natay. She was both my nurturer and my anchor.
Parang hero talaga
Yes.
ang mga single moms na
Totoo.
tumatayong
I have so much respect for them. Sobra.
na dual roles.
Yes, yes. It's not easy.
It's
Being a
not
mom alone is not easy. What
Without
more
a partner?
Without a partner, ikaw pa ang tatay yung tatay and the anchor of the family. And, breadwinner for the family.
Provider, nurturer, all
Yes,
in one.
Yes,
Ang hirap
yes.
nun.
Mahirap yun.
So, nung 19 years old, that's when it started.
I joined the contest on TV. It was hosted by John Young, Hillbilly Willie. It was a show on Channel 9 called This Is It, sponsored by Coke. They had this search for amateur DJ contest. And when I saw that on TV, di ba, nahilig ako mag-radyo. Sabi ko, this is my chance. So I went to Broadway City, sa may Standang Sora. Nakapila ako sa pila ng Itbulaga, ang haba. I was asked to read the script. Sabi ni Hillbilly Willie, okay, schedule that guy for the weekly finals. So I made it to the weekly, monthly, quarterly, and grand finals. I won in that contest, and dun ako in-offeran ng job. I was 19 years old when someone told me, do you want to work in radio? Who would say no? I was second year college, but I said, never mind that. I want to be in radio. So that was how I started my career.
And yung name nyo was Joe Dimango already?
Hindi pa. Noong 1985, I was in an AM station called WBL. My name was Roland Dees. Usong-usong ina-Americanize yung names noon eh. Rick Dees was a very popular DJ back then. So gagawin namin Roland Dees. Because my
That
name
was
is
the
Orlando.
first- the
That was
first
my
name.
first. Na February 1986, 89.9 was born, DWTM, which is now Magic 89.9. So I was transferred there and they gave me this name, which was a concoction of Joe DiMaggio, who was Marilyn Monroe's second husband. So they played around with that. O yan pangalan mo, Joe DiMango. Tapos sabi ko, bakit naman ganun yung pangalan ko? Nakakatawa naman. Little did I know that that would be a household name. down the
Iconic
years.
for our generation,
Yes.
Joe Dimango.
Yes.
Hindi pala Joe Dimango ang pangalan ni Sir Joe. Rolando.
Yes.
But everybody calls you to this day Joe.
Joe, yes.
Eh,
yes.
paano nung pagpapastor nyo? Joe pa rin?
Joe pa rin.
Oh!
Pastor Joe.
Yun na talaga,
Yun na yun.
Pastor Joe.
In fact, sa Australia, pwede ka magpapalit ng pangalan. I was really thinking about that, but maybe down the line. Kasi
Oh,
that's
yan
how
ang-
people know me, and that's how they call me.
80s and 90s
90s.
were the golden years
Yes.
in radio.
Mm.
Love Notes, when was it born?
1988. I received letters from callers. Sabi niya, can you play this song for me? And can you greet my boyfriend? We had a fight last night. Can you play, Hard Habit to Break or something like that? Then I would casually play a song and give an advice afterwards. And eventually, the letters evolved into the Dear Joe type of letters. Wala na introduction, biglang, Dear Joe, call me ganyan. I met this guy. We fell in love and he left me.
And then you would read it on air.
I would read it on there, give a short advice lang. And then, to tell you honestly, nung unang Philcomsen building, we were in Ortigas, may post office sa baba. Isang sakong sulat talaga darating sa station. And these are all Dear Joe letters. Sabi ko sa boss ko, sir, ang dami sulat, pwede ba akong gumawa ng program out of this? Sabi niya, no, because bawal magsalita sa FM noon. FM was purely for music. If you want people to talk, you listen to AM. Sabi niya, I wouldn't do that. Kasi TM was gaining popularity na nung time na yon. Nagiging sikat na siya with WKC and all the other radio stations. Sabi niya, I don't want to take the risk of doing a talk show on FM.
Wow, kayo pala ang unang talk show.
But sabi niya, since meron ka namang prueba, para naman hindi ka magtampo sa akin, I'll give you a month to try it. If it doesn't work, then at least we tried. And the rest was history, of course.
You also shared in your story that through that program, Love Notes, nagkaroon ng realization about forgiveness.
Yes.
How?
I remember, I grew up with an absentee dad. I really don't know what it feels like to have a dad. So for the longest time, I nurtured hatred in my heart
Towards your
sa
father.
tatay ko. Kasi feeling ko kaya kami naghirap sa buhay, kaya ako ganito, is because of him. So when he died the day I got accepted on radio, never a single tear, hindi ako umiyak kahit konti. 10 years after, I was reading a letter from a young girl whose dad died. And in the middle of that letter, I started sobbing. Sabi ko, oh no, on air to hindi ko na yata matatapos to. My wife was there with me. And halfway through the letter, I was really crying na. And then I finished reading the letter.
Because the letter was about?
It's about a young daughter's love for her dad. And doon ko na-realize for the longest time, hindi ako nakapagpatawad sa puso ko. And after that letter, I still had 2 hours on my show. Hindi ko na natapos yung show ko. I was just crying all throughout. I didn't care kung di na ako nagsalita on air. It was a Friday, Magic Madness. And doon ko na-realize na our greatest challenge, Tony, is not our battle against people who hurt us, but the greatest battle we face is against the growing, silent resentment and bitterness that takes root in our heart because of the person who hurt us. And doon ko lang na-realize na kailangan ko magpatawad. I just said, Lord, please forgive me. I've nurtured this hatred and resentment in my heart, and it kept me from growing to become the person you want me to be. Doon ako nagkaroon ng freedom. And that has taught me to become a better person.
Maganda yan kasi para dun sa mga nakikinig din sa atin at nanonood sa atin. Parang sometimes in life, hindi mo makukuha yung sorry.
Yes.
Hindi mo makukuha yung apology that you deserve.
That's right. That's right.
But it's up to you to still forgive.
Yes.
It's a decision that you have to make.
Yes.
If you will base it on your feelings, hindi ka makakapag-forgive.
Totoo.
So, while listening to you, Love Notes literally changed your life.
It did.
Internally,
Internally.
forgiving
Yes.
for your father,
Yeah.
and then the career, the
Well,
trajectory
both,
of
yes.
your career.
Yes. Yes.
Eh,
it did.
wala na, you became the national Joe DiMango Love Notes.
Yes.
Paano yung feeling na ganun? You reach the peak of level ng success as a radio DJ.
Well, I believe I've achieved what most DJs would want to achieve in life, no, yung status, no. But I'm not really a fan of yung popularity and fame. It's something that I did not parang embrace kasi that's not who I am. But in the quiet moments when I'm in front of the microphone, that's where I excel as Joe DiMango. There's so much freedom when you turn on the microphone and just speak out and be yourself.
I heard na yung love story nyo, pang Love Notes.
Pang love notes, maganda yan. I met my
Grabe!
wife on radio.
You and me against the
Yes.
world. Ilang years na kayong married? Grabe.
37.
Wow!
I met her on radio, tumawag siya, nag-request ng song.
Ano pala, listener pala yung wife.
oo.
Okay.
Ang ganda-ganda ng boss niya sa radyo. Sabi sa akin, nung kasama kong DJ, pag magandang boses, medyo mag-ingat ka kasi pag nakita mo in person, medyo the opposite. Ina-entertain ko siya, but sabi ko, pasyal ka dito. I mean, that's our own way of saying, parang eyeball nung time na yun. Our own way of saying, I want to see you, how you look like.
Pumunta ka dito sa radio station.
Bisita ka, then she came.
Nung nakita nyo,
No sparks. No sparks on her part, no sparks on my part. Pero eventually, we fell in love with each other up to the point na we were so in love, her mom, sabi niya, hindi pwede yan. I will take her away from you.
Against.
So, she took her to the States and then she hid all my letters.
parang the notebook pa na to.
And sabi ng mama niya, kailangan magkaroon ka ng green card. I'll match you up with this American guy. Magpakasal kayo para dito ka na with me forever. Kasi siya na lang yung bunso and walang asawa.
Okay, hold. Tinanong nyo kung bakit ayaw nyo sa
Hindi ako
akin.
nagkaroon ng chance na
Pero siya, yung wife nyo, tinanong nyo sa mami niya, bakit ayaw nyo
tinanong mo ba? No?
kay Joe?
Ano sabi
Ano po
niya?
reason niya?
Siya na lang yung walang asawa. Siyempre, yung mom niya moved to the States. Gusto niya meron siyang support system. Hindi niya na pwede hilahin yung ibang mga kapatid na may asawa. So, siya na lang.
Not personally ayaw niya sa inyo.
Hindi naman personally ayaw niya sa akin.
It's for her.
It's for her.
Akala ko kasi parang ayaw ko ng radio DJ or
Hindi
di ba may
naman.
mga ganon?
Pero
Ayaw ko
marami
ng
siyang
ganon.
storya. Nasasabi niya, si Joe, sabi ng mga kapatid mo, ang daming binabating mga girls sa station. So, she made her feel na, kinalimutan ka na ni Joe. Meron na siyang mga girls doon and everything.
But paano nag-reconnect?
Yun ang maganda. Kasi
Yan ang love notes.
dumating ako sa point na hindi ko na alam kung anong nangyayari sa amin. Kasi there's no way of knowing. The only way to connect with her is through a phone call. So, tatawag ka sa operator, nabutan mo yun.
Iko-connect sa US.
Iko-connect, marinig mo, nagre-ring. Tapos, luckily, nagkausap kami. When we talked, sabi ko, this will be closure for me. When we talked, sabi niya, I'm getting married. Kakasal na siya dun sa guy.
Oh, engaged siya.
Sinabi pa niya, sana makapunta ka dito to our wedding. But anyway, it was like the whole world fell on me. I was crying the whole afternoon. Sabi ko sa boss ko, pwede pa assign niyo muna ako sa station natin sa Cebu kasi everything in this station, sabi ko, reminds me of her. The booth, the records, lahat. And then the next day, for some reason, na-late ako umalis sa bahay, the phone rang. She was on the other line. Sabi niya, I realized after we talked, na ikaw pala yung mahal ko. Na what I felt for this guy was just friendship. Sabi ko sa kanya, bumalik ka dito, I will marry you. Eh yung mami niya, tinago naman yung passport. So dapat, dapat
to.
September yun eh. Sabi ng mami niya, I won't give her passport. So buti na lang the sister sa States intervened. Sabi niya, ma, yaman na. So after some convincing, binigay na rin yung passport. But sabi niya, hintayin niyo ako, pupunta ako dyan. I'll attend your wedding. So the September wedding was moved to December. And nung pinapanood ko yung Betamax namin video, mamos na kasi mangot all throughout. Kami tonto. But,
Hindi nga.
yes, but it was fun. I mean, it was fun in the sense na after that, I learned to embrace that as a fact. And love na love ko yung mami niya ngayon. She's 95, she has dementia, but I love her so much.
Pero grabe, yung mga greatest love stories talaga are the ones you fight for.
Yes.
Imagine if from the beginning, you had to fight for your love for each other.
Yes.
Even with 4 kids, 3 grandchildren.
Yes.
But yung pagiging pastor nyo ngayon, how did that happen?
It's a beautiful story. Noong 2011, we applied for migration sa Australia. 2012, we became Christians. Victory Green Hills, in-invite kami ni Chinkitan. Chinkitan is a good friend. Sabi niya, punta kayo. I thought we were attending one of his money talks. Little did we know that he was preaching sa Victory Green Hills that afternoon. So I was convicted. In my heart, I felt like I've ignored the Lord so many times. He has given me so much blessings, my career and everything, my family. And I said, I will surrender my life to Jesus today. So that afternoon, nang altar call si Chinkitan, I stood up, Lord, I'm giving my life to you. But somewhere along the way, halfway through the walkway, lumingon ako. When I looked back, my wife and my 4 daughters, they were all behind me. So we surrendered our life to Jesus July 1, 2012, as a family. And then, noong 2013, lumabas yung visa namin. It was a permanent residency visa in Australia, which was difficult to get. But ang condition, within 3 months, you have to be here. So you have to make a decision to leave everything behind. And it wasn't easy, especially for me. Kasi andito ang career ko, I've built my life here, Joe Domingo, we have a good business and everything. Bakit ka alis sa Pilipinas when your life is good? Pero may word si Lord sa wife ko sa Acts sabi yung message ni Lord kay Abraham, go and leave your country and your kin and go to the place I will show you. Sabi ng wife ko, kailangan tayong pumunta ng Australia. Sabi ko talaga, I was struggling. So we talked to our children, sabi namin, if one of them would say no, kasi may mga sarili na sila, nag-work na sila lahat ng time. If one of them says no, we'll stay. Kasi one for all for one. Sabi nila, Mom, Dad, whatever your decision is, let's go. A year after we became Christians, July 1, 2013, we were in Australia with 6 bags and 10 balikbayan boxes. That's all we have. Sabi, Lord, iwan mo lahat yan. And then we started doing small groups. My wife is very much into discipleship. Pag may meet siya sa grocery, punta kayo sa bahay, kain tayo. She would prepare a meal. And little did we know, after a year, it became a small house church already. So when our pastors from Victory Fort, they were traveling from Melbourne to Sydney. Sabi nila, may isang Victory family sa Canberra na nag-church daw. They went there and nakita nila, oh, what we have here is a church.
Sino po nagsisermon kayo?
Ako, I mean, hindi ako pastor, pero I mean, nag-share ako, nag-preach ako, yung mga anak namin, sila nag-worship, no? It's like a family thing. Sabi nila, you're doing missionary work, why don't you go back to the Philippines and study in the School of World Missions? Kasi that will equip you to do your work better. So, we went to Victory Fort, studied in 2016. After 6 months, sabi namin, wow, sino ipapadala niyong pastor? Excited na kami now that we're equipped to help. We're not sending anyone, we're sending you, both of
Kayo
us.
pala yung pastor.
Kami pala yun.
Kayo pala yung tinirain.
We were accidental missionaries, we were accidental pastors. Our Victory, Every Nation, Canberra was born in July 2016. So we're on our 9th year now. Maraming challenges sa church. It's not easy, but the calling is there, regardless of how difficult it is. I will continue to serve the Lord in my capacity for as long as He wants me to be there.
Kayo yung isa sa nagpatunay na everything that you have been through in your life is really a preparation
Yes.
for where God is
Yes.
going to take you.
Yes, that's true.
You think that being a DJ for 30 years, reaching that success, that magnitude of peak and career
Yes.
in all platforms, that was it.
Mm.
Little did you know na ito pala talaga. It will be this.
And now that I'm serving God, sabi ko, Lord, ano yung value ng 30 years na binigyan mo ako ng platform ng Love Notes? Sabi niya, ang value niyan is how you define success. Before, when you haven't surrendered your faith, success was defined as achievement. Ang aim ko, dapat tumaas ang rating para maraming benta yung stasyon. Alam mo, everything is about
Numbers.
Numbers. Everything is about numbers. But now it's about purpose. Ano yung purpose kung bakit mo ginagawa yan? And what's God's reason for giving you that platform? And now I'm so thankful that I'm being able to use that platform to glorify God in little ways. Not in a very direct na parang nagpipreach ka, no? But I'm just so blessed that I can use Love Notes, yung platform ko, social media. And even in the movie, where I was able to speak about God, na hindi mo mababasa o magagawa sa basta-bastang movie. Kasi nakakatakot, bakit mo gagawin? It's scary. It's a movie, di ba? But alam mo, God has given me the strength and the courage. No, you tell them that God, is still writing her story. It's not the end. You mention my name. And, the Last Goodbye, it's 93 million views on Netflix, TikTok na surpassed all TikTok posts ng Netflix. So it was a real story. So they changed a bit of the story, but it's based on a real letter.
From being a love guru to having listeners, now you're a pastor taking care of your sheep, your flock.
Yes.
No?
Yeah. Sobrang
Nag-shift yung
nag-shift yung buhay ko from entertaining to shepherding. Dati, you're just taking care of people's stories, making sure that they feel good about it, they know what to do. Now you are actually in charge of the faith journey of a real person, which has an eternal consequence, and that's a very tremendous calling. That entails a lot of responsibility and accountability. But that's something that God has placed in our lives as a husband and wife, in me personally as a pastor. And that's something that I would do for as long as God wants me to do it.
just to give us the nostalgia of the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Can you give us, just to end this conversation, the nostalgia of how you greet your listeners on the radio?
Gawin natin parang Dear Joan. Dear listeners, life will never be easy, but know that God has always your situation on His hand. Sabi nga sa Bible, God is close to the brokenhearted and He saves those who are crushed in spirit. So if you're feeling low and lost, God has it on your hands and He's not finished writing your stories. This is Joe Domingo and you're listening to Love Notes.
Meron pala po silang question. Since you are the OG love guru, how will you advise the Gen Zs in handling love relationships now? Are you for situationship?
Of course not.
Of course not. What about men who are not brave enough to end the relationship and they just do ghosting?
Kung totoong lalaki ka, I mean, even if it would hurt the other person, just be honest with what you feel. The reality of relationships is that they don't always end the way you want them to. For one reason or another, people will hurt people will get hurt. But kung lalaki ka, panindigan mo yung pagiging lalaki mo. If you don't love the person anymore, then say it right in front of her face. I'm sorry, but I don't think this is working. I don't think that our relationship is going any further. And I have to be honest with you, I don't think I feel that I love you anymore.
That's what a real man should do.
Be responsible, be accountable to what you say. But do it with love, of course. Do it with grace and do it with compassion.
Ayun.
Take away the pride, do it always with humility.
It leaves so many questions to women.
Yes.
Na
Even to men
hurt.
din. Hindi lang naman lalaki yung nag-ghosting. Minsan babae din.
Talaga may nag-ghosting na babae. Obo, iba rin talaga ang mga girls ngayon. Nag-ghosting
Hindi
na
ba?
din.
Yes.
Well, it takes a lot of courage,
Yes.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Maraming salamat for watching today's Tony Talks. And for more meaningful conversations like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Maraming salamat!